no one has it all figured out.
No.
Regardless of what we may think, like even the people that are ahead of you, and you may think that they have it all figured out and their business is thriving and they just have a great family. Like everyone's figuring it out on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show.
What's going on, Eagles? Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show. I am sitting here with my cousin Joey and our friend and mother, entrepreneur, and owner of Meraki Markets and Mad Makeup. That's how you say it. So,
Yes.
Is there anything you don't do that you want to
Sleep.
Okay. And we were going to talk a little bit about her journey and entrepreneurship, motherhood, etc. All the things we were talking about before we went live. Health, fitness.
I'm sure that'll come.
bread.
Yeah, that'll come in. Yep.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks for having me. It's an honor, and I'm super humbled. I appreciate it.
It's been a long time. We've been friends for a while now. Been a customer of Fuel Hunt. We've been grateful enough to be with you, align with you on the journey. You know
Thank
what I mean?
you.
Can you, to get us started, can you take us through a little bit of the beginnings of Madison Ramirez and where you grew up and how you kind of became the person you are today?
Yeah. I had a really just like working class family. I grew up in Marlton. We were poor in Marlton. We weren't poor, but Marlton has like this rich. We weren't that. My parents always worked hard, and I was like thinking about that a lot. Is I don't know what made my brother and I become the people that we are today and like have this work ethic, because I feel like a lot of people today don't. But I really want to figure out whatever the hell it was and make sure I instill that in my son. I'm always going to hustle. I started working when I was 15, but my family is close-knit family, and I've always just wanted more, and I've always just went out and got it. Yeah. But yeah.
It's funny that you say that you wanted to think about how you are going to instill that into your kids or your son. And that's something I find a lot of us, the few, are doing. Is like, we're like, okay, we have this bug. How do I make sure, or this mindset, this work ethic, how do I make sure my kin or my offspring like also has that same, like, what drives us to be that way? Like, I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I think we just operate with a high level of intention. That's what it is. We're curious. I say this all the time, like, I'm a curious person, but I think most of the few are. They're curious why they either have what they have or why they don't have what they want. And they're curious enough to say, okay, whatever I'm going to do next, whether it's raise my children, make this move in business, they're going to do it with intention. You know what I mean?
But at what point, and it's for everyone, like you said, like, you have that work ethic, like that switch has to flip at some point, right? Where you're like, I'm going to fucking work for what I want.
Were you said your parents were hardworking,
Yeah.
growing up, right? I think a lot of lessons, like, they're caught, not taught.
Yeah.
Right. So
And
that's
like,
that's
what I make a point to be like for my son is, I'm going to lead by example and show it. Like, it's hard to be when my wife, or also an entrepreneur, and myself are working constantly and working out and living a healthy life. Like, it's going to be hard for him to be a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, for lack of a better word. Like,
Yeah.
Well, we're tribal creatures.
Right?
Yeah, we're tribal creatures. I mean, like, the last thing we want to do is be, not that you'd kick Parker out on the curb, but the last thing that we want to be.
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
I think my
I knew
mom,
you were here for a reason.
I think my mom would have kicked me out on the curb for like a lot less than
way less.
a lot of other people put up with.
I almost got, yeah.
I was definitely threatened at some point.
I was threatened multiple times. I was a straight A student. I was still threatened. But I think that, like, the last thing you want to be is ostracized from the tribe, right? So, like you said, he's going to have a real hard time. He wants to model. Like, that's how we build as humans.
Yeah.
So he's going to have a real hard time being the opposite.
So you've always worked for what you want. Was that throughout like high school and like grades and academics, or like sports, or did you go to college, or
Money. It
Yeah.
was always for money.
So you're always hustling.
Which I've evolved from, for sure. But my brain just never worked the way that everyone else's did. And I'm fortunate that my parents this is like not maybe great, but they were like, D's get degrees, just like
Yeah.
get like pass.
I never
like,
heard
I know
D's
you're
get
smart.
degrees. I've heard C's.
Yeah.
D's get
I mean,
degrees.
yeah,
D's
D's
get
also.
degrees.
I did go to college. I went to fashion school actually for
Okay.
a year, and then I went to Rutgers Camden for a year, and I was like, I fucking hate this.
Yeah.
My brain does not work this way. I could also tell you everything about like this test, and then the test is in front of me, and it's not.
Yeah.
Like, but that's my superpower now. As I get to my brain, the way my brain works, I've created this whole other thing because of the way that my brain works.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that,
What was your first job? You said you started working at 15.
or
What
your
was
first hustle.
I bus tables at a
Okay.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not like you were like, money, but I've grown since then, of course, right? But like, there's nothing wrong with being money motivated. There's nothing. I think most people start there. And
Yeah.
then they realize that, like, it's not all about the money. Money's a tool for other things.
It's a tool.
You
But
know
you
what I'm
need
saying?
it. And like
Yes.
having an abundant amount of money allows you to do other things easily.
100%.
I'm not sorry for wanting money anymore, but I just like that's definitely not what motivates me. It's like a means to an end. It's necessary.
Exactly. I was just having this conversation, late night coaching call 2 nights ago. And I said, I heard kind of the same thing about like money motivation. And I was like, like it's not going to make you happy, but it's going to solve a hell of a lot of problems.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So nothing wrong with being money motivated, especially early in your journey.
I agree. Was that, where did your first, if your first business was Meraki, then we'll pause there. But was there an early business like in high school, college, or that you were like hustling?
I remember doing our senior shirts and like slinging the shirts, and they were like $6, and I was like, I'm gonna charge 20, and it paid for my prom house because I was like, this is annoying, this is a hassle. I'm the one doing the work and like all this stuff. And I remember my dad was like, hell yeah, and I was like, here's going to my prom house.
Yeah, it's funny when I did some things like that also, but when at that age when the children or your friends are ignorant to it, you're like, oh, you're ripping us off. Like,
Yeah,
Like, no, I'm doing the work.
Yeah, exactly.
I deserve to make, like,
Is my time free?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't think that way. Oh, I know.
And
I would never tell anybody they were $6.
Yeah.
Well, all your high school friends are like, damn. Like,
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. That's a respectable markup, by the way. That's like a pretty
solid margin.
Solid margins. I knew from day one, you know.
I see it.
My first hustle experience, I was in 3rd grade, and we had a candy store around the corner from St. Cecilia. It's called Vogue's Candy Store. And I don't know if it's still there. I don't think it is. But it was an amazing place. Glass case, like a jewelry shop, but all candy in there. And you went and you picked the candy from the glass case.
Yeah.
And then she went and picked it from the back and made you a little bag. So I used to be the runner in the morning. Because I was up early and at school early.
Yeah.
So the kids used to, and it was like penny candy.
Yeah.
That's all I had. So they used to give me like dimes, nickels, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I used to get all the bags, boom, boom, boom. And I was so foolish. I was like, well, as long as it pays for my candy,
Yeah.
then I'm good here.
Yeah.
I should have been cranking
Making
up.
money.
Marking it up.
I should have been marking it up.
If we're going to go with our first business ventures, mine was my dad was actually my first, rest in peace, my first investor. He bought me my first keg. And then
Jeez.
I would sell the
Selling
cups.
cups. Yeah,
like,
selling cups.
Didn't drink at the kegs because I was all about just
Getting the
mo-
bread.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
money, and like that's it kept rolling over.
I feel like you start moving from cups to plants.
the
to
risk,
things.
yeah, the
You
risk
start- there's like an
reward, the risk
evolution.
reward on the keg business venture is just not.
Yeah, it's
there.
not there, dude. It's not there.
The anxiety is on a different level. Like you're ready to run
Yeah.
at any minute. So,
That's so funny.
when does Meraki comes first, or the Mad Makeup?
Mad
comes
Makeup.
first? Okay.
So I went to fashion school for a year, and that actually plays into Meraki. We kind of like talked before the podcast started, but I was like living in New York. I swore I was going to live there forever. I wanted to do fashion marketing. Anyway, I immediately hated it, but I'm stubborn. And I was like, I remember telling my mom, like, she came up to visit me for the first time, and I was like, I have to tell you something. And she tells the story, and she was like, I thought something happened to you. Like, I was so scared. And I was like, I hate it here. And she's like, let's go. Let's pack your stuff. Let's go. And I was like, no, I have to stay for a year. And she's like, what a fucking waste of money. Like, I was like, I have to stay. I have to stay for a year. So I did, and then I was like, let me go to just Rutgers Camden. I'll get my business degree. And I was like, I hate this so much. And my dad, my mom like worked in the salon, and my dad was like, you've always been creative. You've always like messed around with makeup. Why don't you go get your esthetician license and do that? So I did. And it's so funny because I always forget that Mad Makeup is even a business just because it's not that I've stepped away from it, but it's just kind of like running itself. And you guys know when you have like a team or there's product that needs to come out, it's just like totally different.
Yeah.
It definitely supplements and I love having it, but it just kind of like runs itself. I say no to jobs now, which is
So
really
you don't
cool.
even do the makeup yourself?
I do, but I just like, if it feels good, like, what's my time worth? If I'm gonna like lose a weekend day, is it worth me being away from my son? You know what I mean? Like,
That's when you start realizing, and this goes back to the t-shirt conversation, like when you start realizing your time is more valuable than just saying yes to something, and you learn to actually say no, you actually unlock a new level of life.
Yeah.
I think. So your full focus is on motherhood right now, and the businesses are kind of operating by themselves, or
motherhood first always,
Yeah.
which I actually surprised me. I didn't think I would be that way, and that's just keeping it real. But Meraki is my first baby, and I'll have it forever. And I work so hard at that, and that is truly like a 24/7 job.
It's so funny. It just shows how aligned we are on the journey. But we were just talking about on our last episode about college, about how it's just overrated at this
So
point.
it is, yeah.
And also how when you're on the entrepreneurial journey, it's not a work-life balance, it's a work-life mix. Like, and I see you posting like your family is a part of all of your business ventures, right? Like it's
Yeah.
always the three of you there, not just you.
Yeah, my mom and I own Meraki together too.
I didn't even know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about your time at Rutgers Camden, right? And you said like, I hate this, it's not for me. What was it? Was it the too much theory, not enough practice? Like, was it not real world enough for you? Like, what was it?
Yeah, when the fuck am I going to use this? Like, when am I going to use this? You're showing me this PowerPoint. Like, can we go outside and like talk about it or something? And I don't even remember what classes I took, but it just felt so disconnected and it felt really expensive. Like I had to pay for I'm still paying for that, you know? I'm freaking 31, still paying for the 2 years of college. And I just hated it. And I don't do well being forced to be anywhere. And I'm really fortunate that I had a supportive family who was like, okay, then leave. They were like, you gotta do something. Like, we're not doing a rest year or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, you gotta do something. But yeah, everything inside of me just was screaming that I did not want to be there.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. We had this conversation. We filmed the episode a little while ago, and a similar conversation for me. Like, I wanted it over fast, and I wanted it to be cheap.
Yeah.
College, that is. And I just, it was too much theory for me, and I love to learn.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
I love to learn, but I just felt inside of me that I should be out doing. You know what I mean? Not that I knew everything or that I had learned enough, but I kind of wanted to do both. I wanted to like learn and do, and just sitting there and learning perpetually, it like rattled my bones.
Yeah, sitting. I don't think we're made that way, and we kind of touched on this too. Like, I want to. My whole family's like, Jesus Christ, Madison. But like, have you heard of nature school? I want my son to be in nature school for the first couple years, and that's outside, rain, sun, like snow, everything outside.
Again,
The only thing that will make it better is no jackets.
Yeah, you have to be cold.
but again, shows how aligned we are. But my wife and I one false move against pulling our son out and homeschooling him. It's like, I'm waiting for the day like some crazy political shit. Like he comes home, he's like, my teacher told me I could be a girl or something like that. Like this again might be rough on feathers, but then I'm like, all right, we're out. You know what I mean? Homeschooling, but like that's the kind of thing like Montessori schools, like those type of things. Like we've actually gone away from doing things that are more natural and more actually developmental, and fallen into this academic way of learning, and it, in my opinion, has regressed things and made us more, I would say, comfortable just being like. I told my son all the time, like, oh, you're kind of have a lot of similarities to like prison. You know what I mean? Like you're going on a bus to a school to a box that looks like a cell.
It's to teach you to be obedient.
And you're getting 15 minutes outside a day. Like that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I'll never forget. I had a professor when I was in school, in college, and it was the first time I heard real world problem.
Yeah.
right? So like she was teaching and she was like, okay, like this is how it would apply to a real world problem. And she painted a picture because she had worked in corporate before. So she painted a picture. She was like, oh yeah, one time I was working for a company. We had this database and it crashed because of the indexes and all that stuff. And this is how we solved it. And I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. This isn't the real world.
I'm like, wait a second. You know what I mean? I'm being prepared for a career for 4 years straight with no practice.
Yeah.
Homework, but it's not real world problems. It's stuff from the book, you know? So that's where my bones were just rattling. And I was like,
Yeah.
how do I get this over with?
Did you
committed.
finish?
I did finish, yeah.
for you.
I told the story that I tried to drop out. My mom kicked my ass.
Same.
It's like, nah. Yeah. But there's goodness in that too, because before I kind of like landed on my feet, I remember being like, if I just had this stupid fucking piece of paper, like everything would be easier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not my journey, but yeah.
But realistically, like, that's not even true, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it might have been easier to get a job.
Right.
But not to be the person that you are today
It
or
would be
that you
completely
wanted to be.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you have something?
Can you tell the community a little bit about your businesses? So
That's what I was going.
Okay,
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, all right.
bad.
Let's.
Look, I've been fired and I need to embrace it.
No.
Like this is 2 episodes in a row now that like
But-
you're the MC. I've been fired. I need to just stop
So
it.
I was going. We can either go into the origin of Mad Makeup and then how that turned into Meraki Market, and then we can talk
Let's
about
do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So how did you decide? Like, when were you like, all right, I'm doing Mad Makeup? Like, this.
So I got my esthetician license. I was working in a salon. I was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this either. So I took a job, a soul crushing job in a mortgage company, and I worked 4 days, 40-hour days. So
410s.
410. So I had off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I could like blow this makeup business up. So I was working like 7 days a week, doing shit for free, like whatever it took, and I did. And this like directly kind of goes into the birth of Meraki. I don't know how many years I was like into that, but my grandmother, my mom, like my favorite person ever, got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and my mom like immediately after got laid off from her job, and my dad was like, listen, just we'll figure it out, go be with your mom, whatever this is. We were fortunate, we got 8 months with her, and when she passed, 2 things happened that kind of like birthed Meraki. One, I remember being like, this is the worst fucking week of my life. At least I'm not at work. And then I was like, ooh, I hate that. You know what I mean? Like, ooh, because I had like a week off, right? We were like doing whatever. And like, I was like, that, I don't like that. And then my friend had a store. I always say similar, but Meraki's just evolved so much. She had a plant and home decor store in Kentucky, and I met her in New York when I was in fashion school. And my grandmother actually lived in New York, so my mama and I were cool. She knew my friend, long story short. She knew Olivia's store, and she was just like, Olivia's store is so sharp. She's got all this cool stuff. So Olivia sent my family a plant instead of flowers when my mom passed. And I was like, Mom, there's nothing like this here. It's so cool. Like, Mom loved it. You would love it. And my mom looked at me, I'll never forget, I could like shut my eyes and see it. And she was just like, let's open one. That was March. We signed a lease in June and opened in September, 6 years ago.
All right. Well,
Yeah, I
is
was
this
gonna say how many years ago? 6.
6.
Yeah.
So the store, when we first opened, I thought I was going to do interior design. We were going to be a plant and home store. And we're not.
Can you explain to the audience now that we're on Meraki?
Now we're here.
What is Meraki?
Where is Meraki at?
It's in Haddonfield,
It's in
New
Haddonfield.
Jersey.
Okay.
It is a plant and crystal store. We just started aura photography. It's a little witchy, and I'm excited to talk about that because
I'm a
I
big
feel like
fan.
it's the same.
I just got back from Sedona. So
amazing?
it was all aura photography and crystals.
Did you get it done?
I did not,
You guys gotta come to the store.
because I trust my aura. But we did. We picked up some crystals and things,
Cool.
and
I'm big
it was
crystal.
cool.
Big
So I'm
crystal.
I'm in. Have you ever been to Sedona?
No, it's on my list.
You would love. You would
It's
love
I gotta
amazing.
bring
You
the
would
fam, I'm
love
gonna
it.
bring the fan by the store too. I would love to see that.
You should. Let me know. I'll get you
Yeah,
behind that
you would
aura
love it.
camera.
Sorry,
But
sorry, go ahead.
no, you're good. I love it. We're community based and really spiritual as well. So, and that accidentally kind of happened. I know your guys' origin story. It's like the community started, then the business. We were the business and then the community. And so it's hard to put it's like a plant crystal store.
It's a vibe store.
So much
a
more
vibe
than that.
store.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
much more than that. I'm obsessed with it.
So like, can you explain to the community, like when you say
So
the
now I understand the name.
Yeah, so Meraki means
Now I get the
to
name.
do something with soul, creativity, or love, or put a
Yes.
piece of yourself into your work.
Yes. So now I
I
knew
was
that about the
was
name, but
ignorant
I
to
was
that.
waiting for the correlation
Like,
because
where
I
is
didn't
it?
know.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So what are the typical operations like on a day-to-day basis, like where like
For
how is
me,
it? Yeah. Well, no, for the store. Like, how is it like? Is it open all day, every day, and people are coming in just buying things, and that's how you guys are staying in business? Because the point of the business is to stay in business,
Right.
right? Like,
so we sell stuff. We're open 6 days a week. We're closed on Mondays. I'm fortunate I have a staff at this point. We expanded. We about quadrupled our size in 2020. But it just keeps evolving and changing. I always say that the stuff we sell is just like a means to an end to keep the store open.
Yeah.
We do community events. We like I
At the
said,
store.
At the store.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's why I was like, guys, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
Let's go.
yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
So we host like women workshops. We've hosted, not me, but like I brought someone in to do like men's mental health workshops. It's
Oh, that's
really
amazing.
important to us. We do like plant events and stuff like that. But my favorite thing that we do right now, it's called Sister Circle, but it's open to whoever. And we just sit once a month and like eat and hang out and just talk about life. And it's just really cool. And it's just like really nice to feel that connection. And recently, we haven't done it in about 4 months because I just felt like I was going through my own stuff and didn't feel like I could be this like community leader.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, it took me a minute and I was like, wait, I have the community and I could just ask someone to help.
Yes.
So like we're hosting one next month and I'm like, well, I'm hosting the space, but so-and-so's leading it. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be on your shoulders all
Yeah,
the
you
time.
have like imposter syndrome, which I think a lot of
All the
people.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody does that. And
Everybody
like,
that
one-
shouldn't
Has-
we
yeah.
always talk about like people
Yeah.
that actually shouldn't have imposter syndrome.
are the imposters.
Have the yeah, exactly.
But I
Yeah.
take it seriously, and I just feel like when I'm not my best, I can't give.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have to be my fucking best all the time. I've like created a community that can be best
Support
for
you.
us. Yeah.
They can support you. Yeah. I think too, when you're wired the way you're wired and the way we're wired, especially as entrepreneurs, like you are used to being the problem solver. You're used to being the giver. You're used to being the fountain, you know? And, you having the ability and the awareness to step back and say like, okay, look, my cup's a little empty at the moment. So I need to rely on the community and those around me to fill my cup so that I can continue giving is smart.
Yeah.
And I will say too, to add on to that point, great point. No one has it all figured out.
No.
Regardless of what we may think, like even the people that are ahead of you, and you may think that they have it all figured out and their business is thriving and they just have a great family. Like everyone's figuring it out on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And some people are figuring it out more than others are, and we can help people that are less ahead or less further on the journey than we are figure it out quicker. But no one truly has everything.
No.
And
I mean, the only constants is change.
Yeah.
And
Ooh,
if
I hate
everything's
it, though.
changed, yeah, right?
Yeah.
It can be chaotic at times, but the only constants change, right? There's energy zipping around all over the place around us, constantly changing, different frequency, everything. New problems. If the constant is change, how do you ever figure it all out? Because it's always changing. There's always something new to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that was a mind bender. So
Yeah.
when you
Water.
sure.
Yeah, sorry. It's like rookie shit.
He's just dying
rookie
right
shit.
now.
I even moved the table over there.
quickly
Desert. Did you
dying.
put this here for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. Taking care of the co-pilot.
So you were already doing Mad Makeup though when that Meraki started. So was that transition challenging? Was Mad Make like were you already thriving in Mad Makeup, or was it still hard? Like how did you go from one business to business?
So
two
I was
businesses?
fortunate. My mom was able to really like run the store. I think of this all the time. Like I was like, man, I would like still take weddings because we had bills to pay, right? So I would like my mom would work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I would work every Friday. If I had a wedding, my mom would work the beginning of the day. I'd be like up at 6 a.m., do the makeup till 12, and then go 12 to 6, close the store. I just like fucking hustled and whatever it took. But we were fortunate. Within like 7 or 8 months, I was able to quit my job. Yeah, quit that.
Mortgage job.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
bye. I'm never doing this again. I have nightmares about it still, though. Like during
It's pressure
COVID,
cooker.
I had a night, like the
Yeah, pressure
reoccurring,
cooker.
so that's years past that I forgot my laptop to work from home.
Yeah.
the hell?
It's we're a lot alike. I'm already like we've already had so many conversations
Yeah.
and been that confident for each other. But I just, like you, I can't deal with anyone telling me what to do. Like we're only on this earth one time.
Yeah.
And the fact that most people choose to spend it trapped in a box and because someone told them they had to be there is just not a way I'll ever choose to live.
So crazy.
And I say this all the time, but I wouldn't trade my worst day as an entrepreneur for my best day as an employee.
Never.
And you said with the pressure cooker, it gets to that point when you're side hustling, right? It's where you're getting your salary and you're also getting paid from your side hustle. And it's like, oh my God, the side hustle's doing so great. Like if I just jump now, it would be, and it gets to a point where you're like, oh my God, like I can't do both. And
Can't do both, yeah.
that's when it gets tough, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're burning the candle at both ends, but you're also making more money than you ever had because you have two incomes. So is that what you're
I don't want to go into the mortgage job because like you already having nightmares. I don't want to bring them back.
Bring it up
Like, I
again.
don't want to manifest them.
PTSD.
But I will ask about the salon. You said when you got your license, you were working in a salon first, and you were like, "This sucks. Get me out of here."
Yeah.
What was it? Was it the structure? Was it you not being free to practice the way you wanted to practice or operate the way you wanted to operate?
It was the lack of freedom, and I'll never forget like the smoke being blown up my ass. Obviously, like I will hustle, and I understand when you're in that industry, like you are as successful as you're gonna be. And I was working for a company that had 3 locations, and every time I would like build a book here, they'd be like, "We're gonna move you to the other one," and I was like, "Okay, like whatever." And then finally, I'm like,
And then your book stays there, right?
I'll tell you my only regret in my life. Truly, I think about this all the time. And I'll never forget the owner brought me in after moving me for the 3rd time and just reamed me out because she like wanted me to like not be on whatever my busiest day. She wanted to take away from me, and I found out it was because she wanted to give someone else my room. And I was like, she's like, you are so ungrateful. Like you, she's like you. And I remember this like, and you know we've built this makeup program for you and like all this stuff. And I was just like, okay. My biggest regret is I sat there and I knew in my head I was like, I'm fucking quitting, but I'm gonna get a job first.
Yeah.
My biggest regret is not just being like, fuck you, like leaving.
Yeah.
But
Saying
I'm
no
not,
then and there.
Yeah, I just had to like make my moves.
Yeah.
Yep.
You were also probably younger at the time too. Like that was my
I was
thing.
20.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know
it's
that when I was in the same. But I mean,
Yeah.
the workplace wasn't as toxic as that.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were games being played and stuff like and politics and people that didn't like me and when you're that young and impressionable, you just don't have that self-respect or like you're like I need this job. I can't just walk out right now.
I need to build
Well,
some
plus
you have like you don't have a lot of life experience
Sure.
either. So
And-
like you're still operating in the matrix at that point.
Realistically, you had plenty of skills where you could someone would
Figured
have
it
gladly
out.
hired you or you could start your own salon. You know what I mean?
But I think like also when you're like us, like be it like school or like someone else, like and I didn't know it then, but like I can't be confined. And I don't mean that in like I'm always open to learn. I never want to stop learning. I'm no better, but I just can't be put in like
Yeah.
a box.
I don't want to follow the rules that I don't agree with. You know what I mean? Like rules have a place, but
Yeah.
That's is something I often talk to my free thinking friends a lot about, but it's like rules have a place, but limited amount of them. Like the rules of we have 10 rules, 11 rules.
And even sometimes, rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Depending on the situation, dichotomies of life,
We spend so much time and effort putting people into boxes that we've limited creativity and what life is capable of. You know what I mean? Like
That's why nobody's conscious anymore.
everybody's free thinking.
Right. Everybody's unconscious walking
That's why
around.
we were able to be trapped in our houses for 2 years
never again.
and unable to think for ourselves and determine what we think is
Yep.
the right course of action. You know what I mean?
What you're describing is what they call the unemployable person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like, I think maybe it's Cody that says that a lot, like, or I forget who says it, that they're unemployable basically. And it's a kind of a sensational way of saying you're a free thinker.
Yeah.
You know, you're a free thinker. You want to do what you want to do with who you want to do it on your own time for the rewards that you determine. It's all those 4 levels of freedom, you know?
So Mad Makeup now currently is just doing whatever you feel like doing, or okay.
Extra money.
No weddings.
I do weddings,
Okay.
yeah.
But they're
I
gonna
see, yeah, it's just like pick and choose.
Exactly.
I don't book any in December anymore because that's like the end of Q4. That's my big retail. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean I don't need the money. It's just if I have a day off, I want to be chilling.
Sure, and like you said, like I think the time that I had this revelation of like money isn't everything was when I really had my son, and I was like, okay, like this is the purpose like of what I need to do things for. And like you said, when that amount of money takes away from the time with your son, it's like, what's more important to me at that time? And sometimes it might be the money, sometimes maybe the movement, it might be the mission.
Yeah.
But you always weigh every decision, business-wise, like against your family.
I think I had a hard time. Like, I spent so much of my life just being like a strong woman and not needing anyone. And really I think since having my son, like even when I had my son, I was like, everything's just gonna be the same, and I'm not really gonna be like the mom, like in the mom role. I just saw it as a weakness, and it's not true. And like, it's okay. I'll never be submissive. I use the word surrender. Like, it's okay to surrender and like have my husband take care of me, or like really just say no to fucking everything else and be the mother that my son needs. But just that shift in mindset was really, really difficult for me because I just have always gone out and done and just like figured it all out myself. Yep. And I just felt like being that super like traditional feminine role didn't feel like safe for me, you know?
You were used to being like the badass, like alpha business bitch.
Yeah. I mean, I still am. But it's just different.
Right?
It's just, it's
with
okay.
With a feminine touch.
Yeah, with a little
But
feminine
it takes just as much, in my opinion, it takes just as much strength to surrender, to step away from the identity that you've created for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Or like who you are at your core for the right reasons. It takes just as much strength.
And you and my wife were like peas in a pod with that. And she was always the same way, entrepreneur, leader. Like, she was always so used to that. And for some reason, when she had Parker, like things changed. You know what I mean? Perspective changed, priorities changed. And really, like, nothing else matters to her than our missions of Pure Hunt and Flawless and our family. And that's, like you said, like quitting other things. Like, she subconsciously decided what's important to her and what she's going to focus her time and energy on. And that's...
You say no to the rest.
Yeah.
And we like work on, I remember like being pregnant, be like, I just want to like heal these things and like be the best for my son. But nothing heals you like your child. That's not their job. But like he's 2 and he has taught me more in the past 2 years than I've ever.
Ain't that the truth?
So cool. It's
Ain't that the
exhausting.
truth?
It's cool though. It
is. You're
cool.
going to get the lessons whether you want them or not.
Oh yeah.
You're going to get the healing whether you want it or not. But it's so well said and so true. And I don't think anybody's ever said that on the show before. 55 episodes or whatever in, nobody's ever said that. It's such an important point.
Yeah.
It's not their responsibility, but they do it.
They do. Yeah.
Just having a moment there.
Yeah. I was having a little moment too.
You have kids. I know you have kids.
I have 2 daughters.
2
daughters.
daughters.
8 and 5. Yeah.
Nice.
Girl dad.
And
proud girl dad.
I've always, I just wanted your take on that because I've always shied away from like when it was the time for us to have he's 2, right?
Yeah,
So-
he'll be 2 in February.
So like it would be perfect, like, and EJ's 2 what, like 3 years
8 and
apart.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years apart.
When it was that time, like we were the thick of Fuel Hunt, the thick of our gym, and I was like, I literally can't see myself pouring into another kid. Like already just now, like right now, I'm like every moment I'm working, I'm like, this is time I'm taking away from my son and my wife. And I'm just like, I literally don't think I could do that right now. And I still don't think I could to this day, like, because again, I trained jiu-jitsu so much. I just like, I like where I'm investing my energy right now. And I feel like with more than one child, I think, like, obviously you figure it out. But
I would have went 5 if.
Really?
Like,
Oh yeah, I would have had a whole trial.
My life feels full, and I know it wouldn't feel. And I'm not saying full like I can't handle it. It just nothing feels like it's missing right
exactly.
now.
Same.
Yeah.
So
That's an important point.
Yeah.
But how wild is it that you're your child heals your inner child.
No.
Wild.
Like crazy.
Wow. So like theoretically, what you needed was already inside of you.
Ugh,
because
I'll cry. Yeah. They
Right?
do. And they give you those lessons. And I had a moment where something happened and I just kind of froze. And Tim, my husband, was like, what? And I was like, I just like clearly see the way that I don't want to go and I don't know what else to do. Like I didn't want to do what I was like taught and I just kind of like stood there. It was
Yeah.
cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't act, but I just stood there and like
Yeah.
thought about it, you know?
Yeah,
And
it's-
that's, I mean,
it's wild.
It's cool.
a lot of people don't even have that level of consciousness or intention to even sit there and like reflect on that before it happens. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Crazy.
So-
Parenthood's wild.
Meraki, has it always been thriving? Has there ever been ups and downs? And then you recently opened Jackson proper and since closed, but we'll talk about that as well. But at what point were you like, all right, I have Mad Makeup, Meraki under control. I'm going to take another business venture on with him. And then, so first question, was Meraki always smooth sailing? And second question is, how did it lead into Jackson proper?
I don't know how to answer that first question. We are really fortunate in the location that we're in, and I'm aware of that. But it has never been easy. It's always been good because I am relentless at it. And that's something I'm working on too, is like I can rest and stop and everything's not going to like lose it.
Sure.
So everything's going to be okay for like if I take a couple days off. And I know maybe this is like controversial, but like COVID was the best time for our business. I've never worked so hard, but
How so though? Like how did,
well, I pivoted our whole business. We were really just doing plants. That was like how the market was
really?
trending. I was doing these things called mystery bags, and they were $50. And I was said you get like $100 worth of inventory, and it was a way for me to like surprise clear out what I had and like the inventory that we had while we were closed. And me, my mom, my husband, and my brother were driving around fucking New Jersey and Philly every day to make deliveries.
Delivering the bags.
Delivering freaking bags.
So
People
at this
were
point,
obsessed.
it's just bags of plants.
Just plants, like if I had
'Cause
inventory,
the crystal
like
stuff wasn't.
yeah, I was doing
you
crystals
were still
too.
doing
Yeah,
crystals.
but it was
Okay.
just like whatever kind of was like left on the
Okay.
shelves.
Yeah, I mean-
I was getting like
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
a little business nugget there for anyone listening?
yeah, doing mystery bags are really good. People love them.
Also, yeah, that, and also don't be a victim of your circumstances.
Yeah,
figure
figure it
out a
out.
way through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, I've been fortunate, like, and I did kind of feel that with JP and my dad said that, like, you kind of caught lightning in a bottle with Meraki. It's not like you didn't work hard for it or you didn't evolve, but just like, it'd be like rare to get that again.
Yeah. So what is Jackson proper for anyone that is asking?
So I'm a dreamer always, and I'm a doer. And my husband and I, like, immediately after owning Meraki, were like, there's no place for men. There's no freaking men's stores. There's no, like, not a suit place, like, affordable, cool men's stores. Well, we should open one of those. So it's been, like, this dream.
It was a dope spot too.
And oh, so fucking cool. It was,
And
it was
like
actually perfect.
Literally, we don't do much like we don't put our gear and shirts in anywhere. Yeah, like we literally don't, like we shy away from it. But when you told me about Jackson proper and I saw like the vibe, I was like, yo, this is like literally if we were meant to be anywhere, it's
It
here.
was such an honor, and I'll talk about that too. But like when we closed, you guys were like one of the first people. I was like, I feel like I'm letting them down. But here's a funny story. I don't know if you remember. We met at the Fury Fights,
Yeah.
and I think Kristen Brady was like, you know, he owns Fuel Hunt, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go introduce myself, and I'm gonna tell him that we're opening this store. And my husband's like, we are literally not opening a store, and I was like, but we're gonna one day. And he's like, she can't stop. He's like, she can't stop, and I did. And I was like, we're opening a store. I'd love to. There was no store.
Yeah.
We were. I think this was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
There
that's
was no
amazing.
idea of a store. It was just like, we're gonna do it. That's how I operate.
That's how, I mean.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
but
how-
we're gonna
yeah.
one day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
even think when you did eventually hit me up for the shirts, I was like, I didn't even think about having that conversation like X amount of years ago and how it like did it.
Time has passed.
Yeah, I was like,
how
hey,
much
do you
time-
remember?
How much time? How
We-
much time has passed?
We operate the same way.
Yeah.
It's funny, this morning I just randomly was thinking about like how many things we've talked about that have come true, and they haven't come true on our timeline, but they've all come true.
Yeah.
Totally.
You know what I
That's
mean?
manifesting, baby. That's my whole thing, you know?
We
We have to speak it into existence.
always.
You
And
have to speak it
you
into
tell the
existence.
universe what you want and it'll come.
It's already done. Yeah.
So
With the work.
Jackson
Yes.
Properties, so you open that dope men's store.
So,
So
it's a curated men's.
It was a curated men's collection. We were going to have like a couple of our like line, right? The name was decided before our son. My son's name is Jackson. So my dad's name is Jack. Well, my dad's name is John. Everyone calls him Jack. And my mom, who passed away, always called him Jackson. So I'm like, if we have a boy, his name's going to be Jackson. And then the proper part and our tagline was work hard, live proper. So like work your fucking ass off, but like live right, do it right, be right by your family, keep your shit tight.
Branding was sick.
Thank you. So we launched like a tiny, not even apparel, just gift collection in Meraki a year before we opened our storefront. I'm like, let's just start getting money. So when we find this store.
Test before you invest.
Yeah. Ooh,
Shout
yeah.
out Brian McNally.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So my son was 6 weeks old. We're in Medford and we're like checking out a brewery that opened and we parked and I was like, what's that? What's that store? Like looked in, it had like vaulted ceilings. I was like, we need to open a men's store. And my husband's like, we have a fucking newborn. Like we have a newborn. And we've really like adults and like talked about in my head we were doing it.
Yeah.
And we did and we crushed it. And it was actually cool because I now opened Meraki twice, right? We opened and then we expanded in 2020. We talked about money not being everything. Like I was able to take a loan from my other business and that shit was like right from the start, you know, like everything was so good. Yeah. And we opened it and I will say, and I don't know if I've ever admitted this, but like almost immediately I knew it was wrong.
Really?
Yeah. I was just like, ooh. I just like a gut feeling, but I also, my business advice, which isn't great, I don't know, but I always say there's a million reasons always to not do something.
Oh, of course.
So just fucking do it. So all of those reasons in my head, we have a newborn, like all this stuff, like I just do it.
Yeah.
So from the get-go, what made you believe it wasn't right and like how was the start? Like how did things go?
The location, although the physical space was stunning, Medford and Haddonfield are about 40 minutes away. The walking traffic wasn't there.
Yeah.
We didn't like really
So
research.
it's 40 minutes away from Meraki.
Yeah.
Probably would have been dope to open like right next to Meraki. Was that not a...
Oh yeah, that's still in my brain.
Yeah,
I'm like maybe,
So it's
you
not
know,
bad. It's not
but
bad.
Haddonfield is there's wait lists for stores.
Oh, really?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
there's like it's really tough to get in
Yeah.
there. So that's why I was like, let's just jump on this.
Yeah.
We'll sign a 2-year lease and then we'll move it to Haddonfield.
You kind of like forced a square peg into a round hole. Or
Yeah.
Tried to.
You couldn't talk me out of it. Everyone
Yeah.
tried. You're crazy. You're this. You're this. And I was like, wow.
Only
What
one
they're
year
gonna-
lease, so
they're
that's-
gonna-
I mean, smart.
We did 2 years and we got out in 9 months.
Okay.
Which was hard for me because, and we've never talked about this, so I'm grateful to have the opportunity to. There was a point where I just like looked at my husband. My husband's in law enforcement. He's
Yeah,
still in
same
law
thing,
enforcement.
yeah.
And Jackson Proper, even from before us having the storefront, the idea was to get him the hell out of law enforcement.
Yeah.
He's an amazing human, and I know I'm biased to say that, but he's exactly who you want wearing the uniform. And I just like cannot speak more highly of him, and I would do anything to get him out of it, especially now that we have a son. So that just to me was like, I'm doing this for our family. Let's do this. Him working 7 days a week, me working 7 days a week. We would not have a day off together. Like we would get a day off, and like Jackson would be with my son, or vice versa. Yeah. And right after the holiday, it was like right after December, I just like looked at him and I was like, my husband, we're losing everything. We're losing each other. We're losing. I'm crying all the time. Like, I'm not happy. Are you happy? And he's like, no, but we don't quit. And I'm like, we don't quit, but like we need to. Yeah. And someone said to me, because that fucking hurt my ego too. I don't quit. I've never quit anything in my life. And someone said to me, yeah, but it also takes a good business owner to know when to walk away.
Yeah, for sure.
So it was hard, but it wasn't, right? It was like I felt like I was letting you guys down. I know you don't do collabs, and like we put so much effort into it and every detail, and it was just like perfect. But nothing comes before my family. And then also Meraki was slipping too.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Divided
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah,
Divided
it
attention,
just-
yeah. And no, like from our side of things, if two people get it, we get it.
Thank
So
you, yeah.
never in our minds or anything do we ever feel like you're letting us
You know what's
down.
funny? Like my first thought was like, damn, I didn't do enough for her. Like,
oh my
you know what I
God,
mean? Like I was
no.
like,
Yeah.
and that's just I feel like our nature, right? Like, you're
That's in
thinking
our
about,
nature, that's who we are.
about us, and we're thinking about you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where-
No, I appreciate, that's amazing that you,
But
that's why
I
you
was
guys are
like,
cool shit. Yeah.
equally as sad. Like I was like, damn, I could have done more to help. I think that's what I said to you after the fact. So I'm getting like I got emotional about it. That story was deep.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. Because like
Well,
I mean
it's-
we've been there. Like we've had the same the same.
That's the shit you're
conversation.
not going to see on Instagram about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, exactly.
And the
You know what I
thing
mean?
that I don't, that's why I said, like, to have this opportunity to even talk about it, I don't think I even put it in words that
Mm-hmm.
way because I just also was so, I needed to, like, process it myself.
Yeah.
Sure.
And yeah, so it's just thanks for the opportunity to even say all that.
Thank you for sharing that. But all right, so I mean, I have more questions. So I'd like to also always on the show like give the few tactical knowledge and things to walk away from. So deciding to you didn't close the LLC, right? Because it's
No, yeah, still have it. Yeah.
So how breaking the lease? How did that go with the? Like, if you don't mind sharing
Yeah.
that, like.
And that's also, I'm obviously big on like the universe and signs. He cut our rent without us asking at month 6. We were paying the rent on time because I would
Yeah.
cut my arm off rather than be late on the
Yeah,
rent. Like
yeah,
paying the rent on time, and he was just like came in and he's like, I really want you guys to succeed. Like I'm gonna cut this a lot. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, cool. And after holiday, I'm like, we are not hitting our numbers.
Yeah.
And I just went to him and I was like, hey, I get it. I get
Mm-hmm.
it if I owe you money and like whatever, but we gotta get out of this. And he was like, I get it. And he let us walk. He let us walk. And that business is business. So for him to do that,
He didn't have
Yeah.
to. Do
he
that.
didn't
totally didn't have to do that. And I was prepared to do whatever it took to like
Yeah,
give him what he
Yeah,
needed.
I'll be on a payment plan.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I'll figure it out.
I appreciate that so much. And that to me was like the universe just kind of like affirming that we were doing the right thing, even though it was hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plus, handing some chips back to you after all the chips you've given, to others too
Yeah.
as well.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, do you have
so that
more-
was a short story on the lease break, but a fortunate one. That's good.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions on Jackson proper and?
No, I mean, I think that you summed it up perfectly, and it's funny because when you talk about quitting, like quitting for the right reasons and quitting the right thing, that literally just came up in the show that we just did.
It's honestly so crazy how much overlap is in this show.
It's it is, but it's not because the same energy's like floating around here. So
Yeah, same
you know what I
auras.
mean?
We should have brought the aura.
Quitting isn't like, I know. You don't like lay down and die. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
It's just, but you
Yeah.
did say tactical. And I really wanted to say this because I feel like you guys can resonate with this. This might be jumping a little.
Jump.
But something that's come up so much the past year that I'm like leaning into, and I know you guys have had this said to you, is when people say like, only you see it that way, or like no one else sees those details, or like it's fine, no one's gonna notice that. To me, like the business advice, or like if you're in a leadership position, is don't fucking take that. And I'm so done year 6 taking that because everything I do is because of the way I see things and because of the little details. And you may not know that our bags are black because that's a protective color. And when you leave, I want you to leave feeling like you're protected and safe. No one fucking knows that. I mean, we've never even said that before. You know what I mean? But it's just like anything that I let slide is a crack in the dam. And if I was like to give advice to community or business leaders, it would just be like, that's your superpower and don't settle.
Don't compromise. Yeah, don't compromise.
Take me 6 years to really be like, you're like, I used to be like, you're right. Only I see that. No, motherfucker.
Yeah, but that's what makes it special.
Yeah.
And people may not see it, but they feel it.
Yes, it's
and
a
that's
feeling.
what people that give that advice don't understand that.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't see it. You're right, but they feel it.
They feel
they
it.
don't see cracks in the dam, but they can feel cracks in the dam. When you walk into a place of business or you do business with somebody, you can feel it immediately. Like, something's not right.
It's weird.
Little something little. you may not see it. You may not see the behavior. You may not see the flaw in the product. You may not see that something's misarranged. But you feel it.
It's so
Totally.
interesting that comes up to it. My favorite quote of all time. Do you want to? It applies to this, but I would make you guess it, but I'll just tell you. How you do anything is how you do everything. And that applies to literally every aspect of life. Like someone said it to me and it literally changed the way I did everything. And my sisters you've dealt with Brianna, my sister, like, so she deals with me on a business and a personal level.
I didn't
so
realize she was your sister.
Yeah, so
Cute angel.
she'll tell me things that most employees wouldn't, or like the way she believes things, and it's very open-minded, we'll say, or open opinionated, I will say. So
She's honest.
yeah, well,
You need it.
Open and
honest
honest.
with,
Yeah.
with how she feels, we'll say.
Yeah.
So I'm work just as crazy, right? Like that's how Joey and I do everything like that. Like the little details matter just as much as the big details. And she would say those exact words. Now she understands because she's grown as a person, individual, and business person. But in the beginning, it's really true. Like, you're being crazy. I'm like, no,
You're
I'm
being
not.
crazy.
Like,
There's like a nuance there. Like, you should never compromise on like your superpower. And like, if your gut is telling you the bags need to be black, then damn it, the bags need to be black. But I think that there's also that like dichotomy of in
That's
business
true.
where there are times that I have, and this sounds terrible, but there are times where I've settled for 87% instead of my 97% because I knew that progress was more important at that moment.
Exactly.
And then I was going to double back and add the extra 10%.
I was going to
can't-
say, you don't get it right all the time,
Yeah.
right? It's not.
Yeah.
and there's like a balance to everything, or a dichotomy that like that you can't let great be the enemy of good enough too, because then you're just
Yeah.
never.
Yeah,
Then you're never
exactly.
making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's, I mean, a whole other podcast in this discussion.
But such a great point. I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Glad
And
you brought
I
it up.
like that you just like don't let anyone tell you you're crazy. You know what I mean? Like that being crazy is what makes you you.
We
I like
wouldn't
that
be
point of-
business owners if we weren't, because
Exactly.
there's
Yeah.
this like notion that you're crushing it. How many times has someone said that to you and you're like, I don't fucking sleep. I'm stressed. We just took a pay cut so our employees could be paid this month. We're not posting that on Instagram. Like,
Yeah.
I'm working my ass off. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yep.
But it's just like, there's this crazy here. There's a reason.
Exactly.
Bro, that's literally
Exactly.
every day someone says that you're crushing.
Crushing
You're
it.
crushing it. You guys
That's
are
literally
crushing it.
I hear that more than high. Oh,
Yeah,
like,
you guys are crushing it. You're everywhere. You're this, that. And I'm like, yes, but like it's also so
We're tired.
I don't say exactly. We're very tired. I don't say it, but like when somebody says it to me, you're crushing it. I'm like, look, like it's crushing to be behind crushing it.
Yeah.
That's your next shirt.
It is though.
Yeah.
He's
It
has a way
is.
with words, this guy.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's
it
true.
is.
And you don't stop. And that is crazy. But that's why we are who we are.
That's
and do
why
what
we are.
It's back to that
Exactly.
work-life mix and having to quit things, right? Like Joe just said, we work, do jiu-jitsu, and our family, and that's
Yeah.
really it. So like, if it's not one of those three things, I'm probably not doing it. And you said something earlier. Oh shit, it escapes me, but I forgot where I was going with that. But anyway, well,
It'll come back up.
if it does come back to me, it will.
It'll come back up.
Damn it.
It's not meant to be.
I looked away.
There's
for a
there's so much good stuff here. Like it's hard to keep track of it all.
I talk a
Yeah,
lot.
man.
I talk fast. You guys do too. It's fine.
So yeah, that's the Philly in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say part of your life's mission right now, or maybe is to free your husband from is that still the plan? Or just second to it?
It sounds like there's a dichotomy there because you said like if you want somebody in the uniform, it's him.
Yeah.
So like, does that ever weigh on you when you're like, I want you out of the uniform because of our family and what we have going on? And
To add on to that, though, I will say, being the son of a police officer, it's like having to hug your significant. I couldn't imagine being my significant other more like than my dad, my father figure. It's like having to hug them goodbye and like not knowing if they're gonna be safe and come home that night is like gotta be the hardest thing for you
Yeah.
to do.
I can't think about it that much anymore. I would say my life's mission now is to get our home life so tight that no matter what happens at work mentally, as long as he comes home, we're good.
Yeah.
You know? Because I don't know. I think that like my final destinations, like my goals and my dreams.
Maybe not life's mission, but like the
now.
the top, the top priority at the moment.
I just want, because I don't know how to do it. So instead of doing nothing, I just want it to feel, I want our home and personal life to be so solid. When I say personal too, I mean like the three of them, like me and my husband. I started this podcast saying like my family and I are super close. The beautiful thing, and like I'm sure a sad thing, because my son's gonna have to happen one day, I guess, is like then you create your own family and like nothing actually matters except for us. So I just want to make sure that my husband's good at home too.
Yeah. Everything flows from that though. Like it's not being selfish. Like you have to keep your unit tight. Like earlier in the very beginning, you're like, you got to keep your shit tight. And
Keep
I
it
loved
tight.
it. And you were with the hand and everything, because it's true. Like you have to keep your unit tight. Everything flows from it.
Yeah.
And that's your safe space too. Like when he comes home, like how much better does that make him feel at work or on a day-to-day basis when he knows when he comes home he can like take his vest off and it's like put it down and it's like okay, like this is
Just like calm and
this
safe.
is home. This is home.
Yeah. He's the best.
Do you have a lot of I mean our house is actually feng shui. If you're familiar, like when we were moving into this house, I was like, I gave a book to Amanda. I was like, man, I don't have time for this right now, but I need you to do this. I need you to make sure that our house does this. Are you on? I was like, we have the crystals, we have the water elements, we have the fire elements.
Yeah, we have the vibes. We sage a lot. The windows are open a lot.
Mm-hmm. Would you have the incense sticks work as well as, I'm asking for a friend, but do they work as well as the smudge sticks or like not the same?
I think it's a personal preference. Okay. So here's like we have a crystal bar at the shop, right? And it's like probably like 100 type of crystals. And the really big question is like, I need one for anxiety. What would you recommend? And I'm like, I would recommend that you just shut your eyes and use your intuition, which we are told not to use, and see what calls to you. And 9 times out of 10, when you go back and look at that, that's exactly what you needed. So same thing. If you resonate, some people do like a sage spray. I really like smoke. So like that spray doesn't like resonate with me, but like the smoke does. Like cold plunges, those are really big right now. That is a form of cleansing. You are literally cleansing. Yep. It's I told you guys I had like imposter syndrome all friggin' week coming on this podcast. And I was like, but it's the same. Like the manifesting, it's like whether it's in the gym or it's the same. It's the same. You're just calling it different things, you know, or doing a different medium.
That's the same theory with misogi in Japan, bathing under a cold waterfall to start the year and cleanse yourself.
It's a nice bath.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Explain the open windows for those that may not.
So anytime you're cleansing or wanting something to leave, you have to give it somewhere to go.
It doesn't open the door.
Damn.
You can't just like cleanse your space.
We do open windows a lot as well, even in the winter.
We have ours open in the winter.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Yeah. When I have smudged, or like, I've not had the windows open, I don't think. So
baking, dude. You're baking.
Yeah, he's just like, I'll just let this stuff fester.
The spirit, the bad energy.
Let it fester, yeah.
But we do like white sage every night. The incense stick though.
But incense great too. Like the oils, it just like is such a personal.
We'll wrap it up. I have 2 questions. Do you have any other questions?
No, this was amazing, and I know we're not signing off right now because you got more questions, but like this was amazing.
Thank you.
And it's great to meet you in person. And
I know.
I'm like sitting here wondering why we didn't do this sooner.
So typically we do like a lightning round, but being that you're the vibes expert, I want to do it differently. And can you leave the few with tactical knowledge on if they want to live a positive vibe life or have a good aura,
high frequency life,
high quantum energy, like what are like your top 3 tips for the beginner?
So the first tip is to let go of the expectation that if you're going to live that life that everything is good all the time, because it's not. Just because you are like having this mindset and being a positive force or like manifesting doesn't mean you're going to get, first off, okay, the crystals I sell are just rocks.
No, they're crystals.
It holds an energy, and you have to work and believe that, just like anything else. He's like, no, it's magic, okay? Forget it. Not the expert anymore.
I'm glad you said it. It's such an important point. It's such an important
Drew disagrees. You can't. So if you're gonna choose to live this life, sometimes bad shit happens, and that's okay, right? But so that would be number one. I guess number two would be to trust, even if you can't get there fully. Trust that everything you want is already yours. Like I said, when I met you, I was like, we're opening a men's store. And my husband was literally behind me, like, we are? And I'm like, we are. Yes, we are. Like, I don't fucking know when or whatever. But to just, like, speak that into existence. And then the third would be to get off Instagram and get off TikTok and to just use your intuition. Maybe that's bad business advice since I own a store that sells all the tools. We have everything we need within us. You drink coffee, fucking stir that coffee, and that's a spell. Like, what do you want your day to look like? Stir your intentions in there. I'm really into color magic right now because of the Aura camera. You have to get dressed and eat every day. Like we talked about the black bags. Like green is a really big heart opener. Green is abundance and growth. Accidentally, you wore that on podcast day. You know what I mean? Eat a freaking salad today if you want to call that in. Like, it doesn't have to be some Instagrammable perfect thing. It's just about living your life with a little bit more intention and just trusting that everything you want is already yours. You don't need to know how you're going to get it, but just know that it is already yours and the universe will present itself. Does that make sense?
I mean,
So well said. I can't
I was
even
in a
add
trance.
anything to
I was
that.
like, literally, like, I was thinking in my head, I was like, we should just do the whole manifestation
Part two.
like vibes
We
podcast
can.
Part
rather
two.
than just.
I'll bring
like,
the camera here and we'll do
But yeah,
it.
but our store. Episode 1 of any guest of ours is the origin story, so they can hear before they hear the vibes or manifestation podcast. I need to hear the story
Cool.
behind that.
Yeah. So we'll definitely do part two. No,
But I
so
was-
well said.
That
So
was great.
well said.
That was great.
So well said.
Last question for me is, what is next for Madison Ramirez, and are there any new business ventures we should be keeping tabs on that we should keep a lookout for?
For the first time in my life, I don't know. I think I might have said this already too. Like, I know I have business, like monetary goals, and like I have a 5-year what I want. I've got personal goals within our family and our home, but those final destinations are non-negotiable. But like I talked about, they're already done. I'm going to let the journey take me however, and for the first time, just kind of let it happen instead of trying to force anything and just trusting that everything I want is already done. That's hard even as a control. I'm a doer and a control person, but I don't know.
You're gonna do and work while you just trust where you're headed. I mean,
Anytime-
you're setting the direction by the work you're doing, but you're just
letting
going
it flow.
with it.
Yeah. Anytime I move from a place of like greed or fear or really like money for the wrong reason, it doesn't feel intentional and it doesn't last.
Yeah.
So my eyes are there and it's just going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is where can people find
exactly.
Madison Ramirez and Meraki Market?
So on Instagram, it's Madison Ramirez _13. And then Meraki is MERAKI market _NJ.
Amazing. Looking forward to part 2 of this.
Thank
Really,
you.
I mean that. Yeah.
All right, well, yep, Madison, thank you very much for sharing your
you.
time and your energy with us.
Thank you
Very
for having
grateful.
me. Thanks.
I will leave the few with a message. Always choose effort over entitlement. Always choose hard work over handouts. And remember, no one owns you. No one owes you. You're one of the few. That's all.